Hello everyone, this is Dr. Darkness, and today I'm going to be reviewing episode 6 of series 11 of Doctor Who, that is, Demons of the Punjab. This is sort of the first episode of the second half of the series, and of the 5 episodes so far, I thought 4 of them were okay, but not really special, and then 1 was really good. But, well, now we've got another one. This episode is really good, and it's funny when I think about it, but if someone had said that of the first 6 episodes of this series, the 2 historicals would be by far the best, I'm not sure what I would have thought of that, because that's most certainly been almost the opposite of the case in Doctor Who, certainly since it came back in 2005. So this is another story that's set in the past, where the focus is on the actual history and the events and the setting of the past, rather than just having, oh, well, we're in the past, and here is insert alien threat here, which, is causing trouble. And I think that's been a really refreshing change for me. I can kind of understand the people who are a little bit less enthusiastic about it, the people who kind of watch Doctor Who for the monsters and the aliens and that kind of thing. For me, though, it's nice. Because, the last time we had a pure historical story was in 1982. At least on screen. I know Big Finish have done a few, and I've listened to a few of them, and they're quite good. And that was Black Orchid, which was, well, not great. So the last one before that was in 1966, and it was one of Patrick Troughton's first stories. It also introduced Jamie as the companion, which was notable too. So really this is something that, it's been over 50 years since we've seen any kind of regular pure historicals, and now we are just missing pure historicals. Because that does kind of irritate me a bit, because they've got really good stories going on, both in Rosa and in this one. And then we've just got some kind of sci-fi threat because they don't want it to rely completely on the history, that just kind of feels a bit crammed in, particularly in this episode for the sake of just having an alien there. Kind of like the lion thing in The Woman Who Lived, where it's like, I guess, why not, but this kind of ruins the story a bit. For Rosa, I think it worked a bit better, because this was just someone directly trying to manipulate time. It was a person who had attitudes that were actually relevant to the time, whereas this time, we've basically got the people from Twice Upon a Time that are just sort of trying to honour dead people. And it feels, especially, it's less than a year since that episode, and we've already got an alien threat that's kind of similar, and yeah, this is honouring them rather than preserving. In general, I think you could take the aliens out of this episode and lose nothing, and gain a bit more time to actually look at things that matter. Still though, on the whole, I think the handling of history in this series has been really good. It's tackling issues that haven't really been tackled before by Doctor Who. And I'm hoping that after 2 episodes of this, they're going to be emboldened by it. Because I know for me, I really love the historical-focused episodes, and I'm hoping that the people on the writing team have too. There's no sign of an alien threat in next week's episode, so I'm hoping that episode 8 doesn't really bother with the alien stuff and just has, okay, we've got James I, we've got witch trials and all that kind of stuff. That's enough for a 50-minute episode. Let's just focus on that and make that really good, rather than cramming in some random alien threat that probably ends up being like a witch. And of the 3, the next episode's actually the one I'm probably the most interested in, just because it's James I and it's witchcraft, which are 2 things that I studied at university. By the way, I've got a history degree, if people don't know. And my prediction for that episode as well is that the Doctor's going to be accused of being a witch. And her attempt to get out of that will be the main plot of the episode. But yeah, let's just see. And as for the Doctor in this episode, she, again, a little bit like in Rosa, she was a little bit more subdued. I think she was a bit more centre stage here than before, but I did like her. Her role, it kind of seems like it's there about viewing time and making sure that time progresses as it should, which is almost like how the first Doctor viewed things, because he wasn't the person who'd run in and save the day. He just tried to kind of fix the small problems that were there and make sure things went as they should. So she goes and confronts Manish, but she doesn't stop him, because she just wants to understand why he does what he does and why things happen the way they did. But obviously she knows if they didn't happen this way, then Yasmin wouldn't exist. And speaking of Yasmin, finally! She's been given a bit of depth, a bit of backstory. We actually know something about her. The relationship with her grandmother is nice, as is her slow realization that this person who she doesn't know is the person that her grandmother actually loved and is not her grandfather. So it's kind of an interesting take to take her to see her grandmother, but not at the time or the circumstances that she'd expect, so she learned something so new about her, and in a way kind of gained a new appreciation of her. Ryan and Graham, for the second episode in a row, don't really contribute that much to the plot. They're both fine, but yeah, not everyone's going to be important every week, and I do feel like for the past 2 episodes, those two have taken a little bit of a backseat. But the guest characters, particularly Prem, is a really good character for a single 50-minute episode. Considering that we were introduced to him as he's the other guy, he's like, when we first see him, it's, why is her grandmother wanting this person? This isn't, you know, the grandfather that she's eventually going to marry. But then he's such a good person. He's someone that you can really root for, and he's got his experience in war and stuff, which is obviously relevant because this aired on Remembrance Sunday. And his death at the end, while we literally told about it a long time before, it does actually feel quite emotional because you're understanding that this is how things have to be, but it's not very pleasant that this is how it has to be. As for Manish, his brother, he's again there, kind of like the villain in Rosa. He's there to represent the theme and represent the issue. He is there as the personification of the side of India that doesn't want to be together with Pakistan, that is in favour of the partition, or at the very least wants to go on with it. He thinks that Hindus and Muslims are different, so they should be kept separate, even though his brother loves someone of the opposite religion. And again, the story is a little bit too short to really get into his head. I think here we could have, cut out the aliens, had a little bit more time with him, tried to understand why it is that he thinks this way, if he's maybe had experiences that kind of tell him that they should be separated or whatever. But thematically it works, because the whole point is that despite the general attitude being like this, that history has basically made it in a way that these people are being separated. However, love can still grow from it. And then, we have the other interesting character, which is Yasmin's great-grandmother. Because she's the voice of these people are different, why are you getting married to them, throughout the whole thing. But then when push comes to when things are actually going wrong, she supports her daughter, and she understands the fact that, she's in love with this man, and she needs to support her. Which, probably is partly just because they didn't want Yasmin's great-grandmother to be an antagonist, although come to think of it, that would actually be quite an interesting idea. They should do that next series, go back and visit a companion's relative and have them actually be the antagonist of the story. That would be quite interesting. But yeah, she, again, doesn't have that much time to really grow. We don't have much time to stay with her, but it is nice that while she kind of subscribes to the belief that, we're different, so we should be separate, her daughter's love kind of changes her mind. And I do think that the portrayal of India in 1947, while we only see a very small amount of it, it's quite good, because we're obviously right on the border. And it is nice, this is really for the whole series, one thing that's been done quite well is that they have areas of calm, where the Doctor and her companions will just kind of live in the place that they're in for like 20 minutes before things start going wrong. Even if the format kind of stops that from being too long, because, everything needs to end up being wrapped up quickly, it's a nice thing to actually have, and I guess it's the thing that the extra 5 minutes does give us a little bit more time to do, even if I wish they'd had at least an extra 15 minutes. But all in all, I really, really liked this episode. Things were done really well, and it seems like the historical stories are going to be the big strength of this new era of Doctor Who. Creating impactful monsters certainly is not. But I am going to say it's a bit concerning that the 2 episodes that are actually really good so far are the ones that weren't written solely by Chris Chibnall. But I suppose in the long run this episode's great, so that's the important thing. So that's all I have to say. What did you think of Demons of the Punjab? Please tell me in the comment section below the video. And while you're down there, please like this video if you did. And if you liked it, then check out my other videos and subscribe to this channel. And as always, thank you for watching.